Hello and welcome to another episode of Lord Splodge Screencasts, and in this episode we're going to take a brief look at 1Password, the password management software from AgileBits. In this screencast we're going to focus on the Mac version because, as you can tell, I'm running on a Mac, but we'll also have a quick overview of the Android and iPhone version. This is the main screen, and as the tagline says here, 1Password, have you ever forgotten a password? It's available for the Mac. You can get a free 30-day trial, and Windows, same 30-day free trial, or the iOS. That's the iOS, which is the iPhone and iPad version. There's two separate versions, so you can buy the iPhone only version, or you can buy the iPad version. That's available from the App Store. And finally, there is a app for Android devices. I use this on a Google device, and it works just the same way as the iOS version does, almost. I don't think you can create new passwords. They sync from the Mac or Windows. That's different from the iOS version where you can create new passwords. But a lot of the time I'm not creating new passwords on a mobile device, so that works quite well. Anyway, that's enough of a description of 1Password. Let's have a look at the software in action. So this is the screen you'll see once you've set 1Password up, and you enter the master password that you've set up to access the other passwords. I suggest you make this a good strong password and change it regularly, but make it something you can remember, like a mnemonic or something, because you don't want to be writing this password down. This is singly the most important password you're going to create. And here we've logged on to 1Password, and we've got on the left here a load of passwords that it's saved. That is my cloud one, Dropbox, so on and so forth. And on the left side, not only you've got logins, you've got accounts, identities, and you can create a new one of any of these things here. So I could store my first name, last name, sex. This is like an identity that I wanted to keep. So for example, I could keep usernames and reminder questions in here for, say, online banking, and something that won't automatically fill in on the web, but you can have the data available to hand. There's a section where you can create secure notes. This essentially is just where you want to keep something secret, and you can have an attachment on there, an image, and so on and so forth. Software licenses is a page where you can keep software licenses. So here you can see some that I keep in there. Not so much use for me now that the Mac App Store has come along, because that keeps all my licenses and purchase information centrally on Apple servers. But if you use software that's not in there, or in the case of Windows, that'll be a place where you might want to keep software licenses. And finally is Wallet, where you can store financial data, so bank account details, credit card, driver's license, and so on and so forth. And you can create folders. So here's some folders. You can also tag individual logins or identities or accounts or whatever. So if we quickly drop down to here, and what we'll do is we'll click on edit at the bottom, and in the tag section we'll give this one a tag and save that. Actually, before we save that, we'll go on to where it can display. So always for web pages only, non-HTTP authorization prompts only, so for web pages, but it has to be HTTP an authorization, or never display in a browser. Submit if auto submit is on, or you can always or never. And finally, high security determines on the iOS whether it needs the master password or just a PIN code to unlock the account. So let's save that. As you can see, most of them are untagged. I've got one tagged for books, and I've got this one tagged with the new tag that I just created. You can take a tag off just by deleting the tag and then saving. Also, you should note that under the tag field, even when you click edit, the password is invisible by default. You click in here and you can see the super secret password, and you can also generate a password, and you've got different choices here, so you can have it hyphenated for separator, digits, or none. Now I tend to like, if it's passwords I'm going to need to type occasionally, because, well, like my Dropbox password, because I can't access 1Password data that's stored in the Dropbox unless I type my password. Yeah, I have to set that up for each device. So I like to use hyphens, and you can set the length, so all the way up to 50, and it'll give you a strength indicator, and you can also copy this to the clipboard. So here's an account detail. Now you don't actually need to reveal the password, you can just copy it, and that's now in the clipboard, and then paste that in. You can also get it using the 1Password extension, which you can go from here, and also under the preferences here. So you've got it for Safari, Firefox and Chrome, and you've got options under general where it's store the data file. Now when you first launch 1Password, if it's new, so you've just bought it, it'll ask you, or it's on the new computer, it'll ask you where you want it, locally or in Dropbox. Now here I've got mine on Dropbox, and you can also move it to Dropbox should it not be there. And you can also change what you can see in the sidebar. So let's say we don't use wallet or software, as you'll now notice they've gone. Security, well, it'll auto lock 1Password after 20 minutes of computer activity, or when it sleeps, or when the screensaver is activated. And you can have unlock, locks up, and this is where you change the master password, and the stuff you copied into the clipboard only stays there for 90 seconds. There's got your logon options, backup options, it backs up again to Dropbox, to a backup folder, check for updates, and finally you can rebuild the data cache, clear the rebuild the data file, clear the cache, use multiple threads, disable animations, and you can use growl should you use growl. Right, and we'll just pop over to Safari. So we've got the 1Password extension installed here, as you can see there, between the share and the Evernote clipper. That's the 1Password. Now what it'll do is when you go and type a username and password, it'll pop up a box and say, would you like to save this to 1Password? You click save and it creates a new one, and it names it by default by the name of the site. And you can click on the little cog and you can never autosave or turn autosaving off for all sites if you don't want it to remember one. So I'm not going to save it for this, so we'll say never autosave for this file, and that's it. 1Password won't ask you again. If you go to a site with a login, it'll present at the top there. If you click the extension or press command / it'll bring this up, and here you can click on when you want to log on. Now if it's the only one and you've got auto submit on, do the control / and it logs you on. Bob's your uncle. And also here you can access the credit card information, your identities, and you can generate a password on the fly and get them from the password history should you have generated any recently. You can also access some of the settings and you can lock it, so that's it. If I went to it now, I'd have to enter the password. Well, that's a quick look at 1Password, a excellent password manager. If you happen to be in the Mac and iOS ecosystem, then it's thoroughly recommended, because with Dropbox you essentially have your passwords anywhere, be it on your MacBook, your iMac, your iPad, or your iPhone or iPod Touch. So yeah, fully worth the money. And if you're thinking about getting a password manager, this is the one I'd go for. I know there are some free options, but personally I'm not sure I'm going to trust my passwords to a free option. And the support from AgileBits on 1Password is excellent, and the price is reasonable. Available from either the AgileBits website or the Mac App Store. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another screencast soon. Bye.